I was really proud of my team today. Really was proud of my defensive staff, Nick and Kelly and Shane and Vic, all former graduate assistants for me. We've been together a long time. I was as happy for them as anyone. I still kind of view them as players, and my role is more oversight now in all phases of our program, defense, offense, and special teams. I didn't call a defensive play today. Nick Howell did an amazing job. Kelly, it's just I'm happy for them and really happy for our players. They performed really well. Defense carried the beginning of the game, creating scoring opportunities, which then eventually were leveraged into touchdowns. Not in the first half, but eventually we started to kind of handle sudden change a little bit better offensively. Touchdowns started to manifest, and then we played all the way through the end. It was strong. It was a strong performance by the team to be able to finish a game like that without some of the miscues that sometimes emerge, or giving up points at the end, or different things that's happened. It was a clean finish, and that's not easy to do. And so really happy for our team, really happy for our program, our fans, and yeah, we have some momentum going.
For a second year, really almost a second year football player, to do what Charles Snowden did today, I mean, how impressive was his performance across the board?
It was, it's very impressive. Our team, someone asked one of our players, I was doing a radio interview, and most likely to be the next president of the United States, and it was Charles Snowden. He's Bryce Hall-like in terms of his preparation and his conscientiousness and his diligence and his intelligence and his I mean, he's just, who he is allowing the accelerated version of his game. And he certainly has the tools, and he's learning, what it feels like to play tired with all those snaps. And he has a great mentor in that room, in Chris Peace. There was an NFL player, personnel person that came in this week, and I shared this with my team, that said he had never seen in his entire career someone that practiced as hard as Chris Peace. That's a powerful statement, knowing that this was his fourth day out just in 1 week of seeing multiple schools, and yet when you put that together over time, he'd never seen anyone practice as hard in his career. So Charles is under the influence. My point is, Charles is under the influence of Chris, which I love that succession.
We're going to Mike and Brad. We've talked and written so much about your defensive line is so thin, it's so inexperienced, all of that. How did you think about the way they played, and particularly Redmond and Famui seemed like they gave you a big boost?
They're learning on the job, and man, I'm glad they're here, because we would not be able to function as a team without them, and they're holding their own. Yeah, there's things they can do better, but they're allowing us to play and highlight what we need to do defensively versus different personnel groups. And man, they're just barely beginning their career and understanding of even what it looks like to play the position. So I'm encouraged by their starting point, and that's where they are.
The offense seemed to bog down at times, and
Yep.
Perkins seems like the kind of player who can unbog you. I don't know if that's a word, but how important was that for you?
I think unbogging is a really good definition, because there was penalties and there was things that just did not seem where the collective execution was going to be strong enough. One of the bright spots of having a quarterback that we targeted after the last 2 years, and you saw similar things from Brennan Armstrong in his own way, those type of players are who we want at that position, because it unbogs you, as you saw today.
Coach, two questions over here to your left. First, how long did you know you weren't going to have Bernie, and what's that situation? And also, did you come out in the second half expecting that Bobby might come out with the second quarterback, and what was your preparation like at half?
We talked about it at halftime, where that certainly could happen with no points and really not threatening with the offensive resume that Louisville has and their coach has. It also followed suit of the last 2 games where both were going to play. So we expected both to play, and there were slight modifications in the plan. Regarding Bernie, it wasn't confirmed until yesterday. He has a medical condition. His future or time frame and all that is uncertain at this point, so we didn't know until yesterday.
Coach, 3 first-half red zone trips. You go into halftime up 6-0. How comfortable or uncomfortable were you with that lead? And did you guys discuss at halftime punching in and finishing those drives in the red zone?
Yeah, I didn't have to say a word. Coach, our offensive coaches, they know touchdowns win games. I mean, field goals will get you the lead, but they don't put you out of harm's way or out of risk. And I was really pleased with Hunter Pearson when he got his opportunity. We opened the kicking battle this week, put tremendous pressure on both of them, and AJ actually came out ahead, which earned him the chance to get the first one. But then when he wasn't accurate, we went right to Hunter, and I was pleased with how he performed. But again, field goals have to be automatic. 25 and in, that's for quality ACC play, that has to be automatic in that range. Touchdowns have to be likely. And so we still have some work to do in that area.
How you doing, Coach?
Hey.
Lawrence Johnson here. Last time Louisville was here, they got out of here with the skin of their teeth after pretty much a dominant defensive performance during the whole game. And my question is, today, a dominant defensive performance. Is there something about this offense that you've honed in on that allows you to or is it just the same preparation week after week or something like that?
You know, I'm not sure if there's carryover. I do remember that game. Put it this way, I remember the last play. I don't remember much of the game. I remember the last play. And the frustration I felt in year one, just trying to get the program even one wheel on the rails, you know, just going somewhere in the right direction. And today, yeah, it was not perfect, but it was 27-3. And in our opening ACC game at home, and there was a confidence when my team arrived in our locker room at our stadium that, well, my wife asked me last night, she said, how do you think you're going to do? And I said, we're going to win. They're becoming, I don't know, they're becoming more resilient and more confident. And rarely do I say that to her or anyone else, but there's a different level of confidence that's coming with this team and program. Does not mean we've arrived, doesn't mean there's not things to work on, but I'm seeing it unfold.
Coach, offensive line play, it seemed as though when Bryce dropped back to throw, a lot of times he had a clean pocket to either throw from, step up in, move around in. Give us your assessment of where the offensive line was and is now in pass protection.
Yeah, I would say still a work in progress. We're becoming clearer about our protections and what we have to do versus what type of routes that we're running. For instance, a week ago when we were hit from behind and coughed the ball up against Ohio, we had 7 men in protection. I mean, that means only 3 guys went out, and that didn't hold. And so there's been huge emphasis because you can't effectively throw the ball if all you can do is release 3 players. So we redoubled our efforts this week, and it showed improvement today. And so I think we're trending in the right direction with just significant improvement still to go. But that one play from a week ago was kind of a catalyst to take another look at how we might be able to improve at a higher level. So the pocket was cleaner, there was more time, with still plenty of room to grow.
When Bryce went down, you were clear on the other side of the field from that. What did you think, and what did you find out when he got back over to your side?
I was disappointed. First of all, the play didn't work because I thought it would. So they played it well. Anytime you have a reverse pass, you're kind of banking on that going, and they played it well. I saw him get up and hold his hand, and my first question was, is that his throwing arm? And they said yes, and so then there's kind of your life's work flashing in front of your face really quick. And then I looked up and I saw Brennan just kind of smiling and playing catch like you know, okay, I get to play. The game isn't too big for him. Then I heard from our trainer that his finger was dislocated on his throwing hand. They put it back in place, but when he was bending it, it kept going back out. So they took him in. So I wasn't sure we were going to have him the rest of the game. And then Brennan gets the first snap and looks like he's been playing all season, which just kind of made me chuckle because he went against our defense the entire week. So our defense's performance really had a lot to do with Brennan Armstrong playing quarterback as well. So anyway, really glad to see Bryce back in, and then you all kind of saw why when you try to tackle him in the open field if you're just by yourself. yeah, good luck with that.
Coach, speaking of Bryce, is he still amazing you, or are you getting used to the things he can do?
No, there was an amazement factor today. So I've seen him hurdle, but maybe not that high. And so that was, yeah. I mean, the tackler didn't necessarily go like, it was at least waist level. It was more number level. And so, yeah, I think we've all seen a lot of players hurdle someone below the waist, but that might have set a record, at least in my career, for height of a hurdle in the open field. And yeah, pretty impressive.
I believe at this time last year, Bobby Haskins was a high school tight end. He ended up playing much of the game at left tackle for you. Where is he in his development at that position?
Yeah, we love Bobby. We recruited. He was a tight end. We brought him in and told him we thought he would be an offensive tackle. This was before his senior year. He then moved to offensive tackle because we told him he was going to be, and practiced an entire year there. He's tough and he's aggressive. I love his mindset. I love his athleticism. And yeah, he's a true first year. And so there's starting to be an influx of our first years. We just did an assessment as a staff on those players and how many we thought we assessed accurately. And yeah, we were close to 85%, which is, man, in the recruiting world, that's a pretty good number. So we really like this class, and we really liked last class, which are our first two that we've selected, and another one's coming.
We'll take our last two from the
Okay.
line, Gene.
Two more offensive line questions. When Glazier went down, Proctor came in for one, maybe two plays. Then I saw Nelson was in at left guard. What was the reason for pulling Proctor back out?
Yeah, still working to find not only the best combination, but to make sure that that Proctor's health is maintained, and all of those things at the same time. And sometimes the best combination ends up allowing the pocket to be cleaner and us to have more momentum offensively. And so, man, we've been through a lot of different combinations the past couple weeks, and now injury just kind of forced another one.
And what led to moving Nelson to left guard then?
A lot of that is who can play tackle, and we just kind of talked about Haskins and tackle. So once there's another offensive tackle that can play, there's flexibility, and so Bobby is gaining our confidence and trust.
Yeah, Bronco, one more about a question on Charles. Given what you've seen in a relatively short period of time, how good can he be? How much better can he be than he is now? Because it feels like it's just scratching the surface at this point.
In terms of how much better, I mean, this is game four of consistent play, not just a nickel rush. And man, there is just, I don't know where the limit is with him. The size, the range, the speed, but also the type of person, right? Those kind of people, they maximize their abilities, and it'll be fun to watch. I think it'll happen pretty quickly for him.